The RAAC, the RAC problem, uh, is going to come back to haunt Rishi Sunak. In fact, it could be the thing that destroys him, because he is personally responsible for cutting the budget for building and rebuilding schools. So he was told that the aerated concrete, RAC, was presenting a critical risk to life, and yet he seems to have run down the budget from the point when he arrived in office in 2020, in February 2020. And this seems to have led to a dispute. And there's a fellow who turned up on Radio 4 this morning, and when you look at his career in government as a permanent secretary of the department, stops in 2020. So he was permanent secretary from 2016 to 2020, when Rishi Sunak comes in, and he is scathing, or he was scathing this morning on the Radio 4 Today programme, about Rishi Sunak personally. Quite extraordinary interview. So Rishi Sunak was told that the rebuilding of old schools in England needed significant funding, and actually the funds have been halved. First of all, to 100 and then 250, according to Jonathan Slater. And Rishi came in as Jonathan Slater left. So either this is a slightly questionable set of statistics on Radio 4, or it's these statistics which led to Slater's departure from the department. He said that the priority of the Conservatives and of Rishi Sunak was to build free schools, not repair old schools. And he says that for me as an official, it seemed that we should that should have been second to safety. But politics is about choices, and Rishi Sunak seems to have made very deliberate choices. And the RAC report seems to have been in certainly by 2020. So to have the RAC crisis now, this sort of knee-jerk crisis, this could have happened from the moment Rishi Sunak became Chancellor, and and the Treasury under Sunak was only prepared to fund, we're told, by Jonathan Slater, that the Treasury was only prepared to fund a third and then a quarter of the work needed. He explained that it presented a critical risk to life. He had presented this to the Treasury. A critical risk to life if the programme was not funded, and he cites a concrete block falling in a school in 2018 as evidence that the decay had already set in. Because the materials used to build so many schools across England only had a 30-year lifespan. That is absurd. It's so short-sighted. Not just poorly funded by Rishi Sunak, but then actually funded with a 45% drop in funding from 765 million in 2019 to 416 million in 2022, while Baroness Mone, I hope I pronounced her name correctly there, Baroness Mone got 29 million, apparently as a down payment on her yacht and her bank accounts in the tax haven of the Isle of Man. And she's still in the House of Lords. She's still posing in swimwear like some miscreant leftover from a 1970s Miss World fashion parade. So the Lib Dems say that Rishi slashed spending, which he demonstrably did. We've looked at it. And that therefore he is personally responsible for this crisis. So today, Gillian Keegan has attempted to deal with precisely that charge by saying, well, no, The Department of Education, the DfE, is not strictly responsible for the upkeep of buildings. These are maintained by academy chains or local councils. But actually, as Munira Wilson, the Liberal Democrats person, says, this is about Rishi Sunak's disastrously short-sighted choices, his short-sighted decisions. And we've got plenty of those, not least in his keeping Suella Braverman in place. You wondered if I was going to get her name in, didn't you? Well, I am. And there it is. So,